You don't announce yourself. You don't explain, posture, or perform. You simply enter, and something shifts. The air thickens. The energy warps. People laugh differently. Their eyes dart and hesitate. It's not intimidation. It's not arrogance. It's gravity. You walk into a room, and without trying, you wake up something dormant in everyone else. Their masks itch. Their walls crack. Their jokes land flat. You didn't say a word. You just existed. And that's all it takes. This is the weight of presence. Not charisma, not charm, but something more rare, more unsettling. It's the silent mirror that reflects without mercy. You've felt it your whole life. The stares, the tension, the people who suddenly act different around you without knowing why. You've even questioned yourself. Am I doing something wrong? Is my energy too much? Why do people get so awkward around me? The answer? You carry an aura that speaks louder than words. Not everyone can handle it. And here's what that really means. Sign 1. You don't play the social game, so people feel exposed. Most people spend years perfecting their mask, the right smile, the right laugh. They build a social self so well rehearsed, they forget it's a performance. Then you show up, maskless. You say what you mean. You don't chase approval. You speak when it matters, not to fill silence. And, without attacking anyone, you strip the entire room of pretense. You've been at that dinner. Everyone's gossiping, joking, talking nonsense. And you sit there, grounded. Then someone turns to you and asks a real question. You answer with honesty. Maybe you mention mortality. Maybe you mention the pain of wasting time. Suddenly, the table goes quiet. Someone sips their drink a little too fast. Someone else glances at their phone. You didn't offend anyone. You didn't interrupt. You just broke the spell. That's what presence does. In 2019, Harvard psychologists found that people felt more emotionally threatened by honest authenticity than by open confrontation. Aggression is expected. People know how to respond to it. But truth? Truth confronts what they've been running from. That's what your aura does. It doesn't yell. It doesn't judge. It just reminds them that they're pretending. Carl Jung said, "Authenticity is the rarest form of courage, because it means integrating your shadow. And most people haven't done that. So when they meet someone who has, like you, they feel naked. They call it too intense, too serious, too much. But what they really mean is, you make me feel what I'm not ready to face." Sign 2. Small talk feels like soul death. You're at a party. Someone says, "So, how's work?" Traffic was insane, right? Did you see the finale of that show? Your soul leaves your body. You're not trying to be rude. You're not trying to be distant. But you feel yourself physically withdrawing. Not out of superiority, but because your energy doesn't feed on the surface. It needs depth. In 2020, the University of Arizona ran a study on individuals with high existential orientation, people who think in terms of meaning, purpose, and mortality. Their finding? When placed in shallow conversations, those people reported increased cognitive fatigue, like their brain was suffocating. That's you. You don't get energized by noise. You get energized by reality. Give you a conversation about pain, transformation, truth. You'll light up. But force you to play in the kiddie pool of social scripts, and your mind shuts off. You don't fake interest well, and it shows. People sometimes misinterpret it as disconnection, but it's actually the opposite. You're so deeply connected to what matters that you struggle pretending the rest does. Sign 3. People confess things they've never told anyone. You're on a train. You nod politely to the person next to you. 10 minutes in, they're telling you about the affair they never got over, about the father they haven't spoken to in years, about their anxiety, their fear, their shame. And then they say it. They always say it. I don't know why I'm telling you this. But you do. In 2021, researchers at Cambridge documented a phenomenon they called emotional containment perception, the unconscious ability to create a feeling of psychological safety, just through presence. The people who carry this gift, often unknowingly, signal something rare. You're safe here. Take off the armor. That's you. You don't demand people open up. You don't interrogate or pry. You simply exist in truth, and it makes people want to match you. It's a gift, but it's a heavy one. Because while people drop their pain at your feet, they rarely stay long enough to carry yours. You become the emotional landfill, the secret keeper, the confessional booth. And after they've purged their shame into your stillness, they leave lighter, while you walk away heavier. Sign 4. Eye contact with you feels like X-ray vision. Some avoid it. Some get locked in. But either way, they feel something in their spine. When you look at them, it's not about dominance, it's about being seen. In 2020, Stanford researchers found that prolonged eye contact activates the brain's default mode network, the same neural system responsible for self-reflection. In simple terms, when people look into your eyes, they don't just see you, they see themselves. And not everyone is ready for that, especially those hiding behind curated identities, because your eyes don't flatter, they reveal. Jung wrote that once someone integrates their shadow, their presence gains a penetrative force. Your eyes carry that. They don't attack, they witness. And that's often harder to handle. Some people feel like you're a sanctuary. Some feel like you're a threat. But they all feel something. Sign 5. You make people feel watched, even when you're silent. You walk into a meeting. You're quiet, observing. You're not trying to challenge anyone. But someone gets defensive. They speak louder. They over-explain. They shift uncomfortably. You wonder what you did. The answer? You existed. Your presence alone, grounded, aware, non-reactive, reflects the parts of people they'd rather not meet. This is called projective identification, a process where people unconsciously assign their hidden emotions to someone else. Often that someone is the one who seems most whole, most aware, most silent. That's why you get blamed for moods you didn't cause. Why people say, there's just something about you. But they can't explain it. Your aura touches things in them they've buried. Jung once said that. Integrated people unconsciously awaken the buried selves of others. You aren't triggering them, their avoidance is. And you You just happen to be the mirror. Sign 6. People remember you, even when you barely spoke. You didn't say much, maybe just a hello, maybe nothing at all. But a week later, someone brings you up. Months later, they quote something you said. A year later, they still remember the way you made them feel. Why? Because presence leaves fingerprints on the soul, not through noise, through weight. A study from the University of Melbourne found that nonverbal presence, posture, eye contact, silence, is often perceived as more influential than spoken communication in leadership evaluations. Think about that. In a room full of voices shouting for attention, the one who listens with full attention becomes unforgettable. Presence is power, and yours doesn't need an introduction, it's felt. You don't just walk into rooms, you imprint on them. Sign 7. Your energy exposes what others avoid. Let's say you meet someone like Alex. On paper, confident, loud even, talks fast, jokes constantly. They're the center of attention, until you show up. Suddenly, the jokes slow down. Their voice drops. Their shoulders tighten. Not because you attacked, but because your very presence called out what they've been avoiding. A 2021 neuroscience study out of MIT found that humans experience increased stress when around individuals who exhibit consistent self-awareness and emotional regulation, especially if they're not practicing that themselves. So, when you walk into a space clear, calm, and real, people feel what they've been running from. And not everyone's ready for that. Sign 8. You get underestimated until you're not. You've seen it. You walk into a room, maybe quiet, observant, and people assume. They assume you're passive, that you're not sharp, that you're not a threat. Until you speak, until you move, until you act with precision and everything shifts. Suddenly, they're recalculating. This isn't about ego, it's about impact. Researchers at the University of Oslo coined this the still water effect. Those who appear unassuming, but demonstrate clarity under pressure, trigger the most rapid shifts in perception, from overlooked to unforgettable. That's you. You don't come in swinging. You wait. You watch. And when the moment comes, your presence explodes through action. Sign 9. People project their chaos onto you. Let's say someone's been holding in anger for months. They're avoiding their own resentment, their guilt, their insecurity. Then they meet you, someone who isn't hiding, someone who lives in truth. And suddenly, they pick a fight, for no reason. They blame you for something you didn't do. They call you intense, too serious, distant. Why? Because when people live in emotional chaos, the presence of someone stable can feel like pressure. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But most people aren't ready for that understanding. So instead of reflecting inward, they explode outward, at you. Sign 10. You intimidate without trying. You don't puff your chest. You don't bark orders. You just are. And yet, people act strange. They watch their words. They shift in their seats. They either try to impress you or challenge you, but rarely do they relax. This is the power of what psychologists call energetic intensity. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, but it's potent. Like standing too close to a fire. Even if it's not burning you, you feel the heat. And the truth is, many people have never sat with someone that grounded, that awake, that real, so they mistake it for danger. But it's not. It's just presence. Yours. Sign 11. You walk alone, not because you're unloved, but because you're unmatched. It's lonely at your level of awareness, not because people dislike you, not because you're unworthy, but because your values, your standards, your vision, they're rare. Most people aren't ready for conversations that break their comfort zone. They aren't ready for connection without masks. They aren't ready for truth without sugar. And so, you often find yourself alone. But solitude isn't punishment. It's preparation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." That's why your path may seem quieter, because the storm outside has no pull on someone who's already weathered their own. Sign 12. Emotionally unavailable people are drawn to you. You've noticed the pattern, the avoidant ones, the emotionally shut down ones, the ones who seem disconnected, but somehow they're pulled to you. Why? Because your emotional presence acts like gravity. People starving for connection feel it like oxygen. They don't know why. They just want to be near it. But here's the danger. People can become addicted to your light, even when they're unwilling to hold their own darkness. And that's where your gift becomes a risk, because being a lighthouse doesn't mean you have to rescue every ship. Some need to crash to learn. Protect your light. Sign 13. Your silence breaks facades. Sometimes you don't say anything, but your presence in the room, your calm, grounded stillness, begins to unravel the noise. Let's say someone's boasting, oversharing, putting on a show, and then they look at you, and suddenly they stutter. Their story falters, their performance slips. Why? Because you're not playing along. You're not laughing out of politeness. You're not nodding for approval. And that breaks the script they've rehearsed. A 2020 behavioral study from the University of Zurich found that non-reinforcing silence in group settings causes elevated self-monitoring in others, meaning your lack of participation can cause people to examine their own authenticity. You don't have to call people out. Your stillness already does. Sign 14. You raise the emotional standard. Let's say a friend's used to casual, to vague, to surface level. Then you walk in, and suddenly, the way they text, the way they speak, the way they show up, starts to shift. Maybe they don't even realize it, but they start answering deeper questions, listening longer, talking with more honesty. Why? Because your energy doesn't settle for less. You're not interested in passive-aggressive jokes. You're not here for sugar-coated dishonesty. You're not entertained by drama that avoids real pain. You raise the emotional temperature, not by pressure, but by example. And people either evolve with you or fall away. Sign 15. People either want to follow you or change you. Let's take someone like Jonah. He admires your calm, your strength, your vision. He tells you, you're different, in a good way. But as you get closer, something shifts. He starts offering advice, tells you to be less intense, to lighten up, to just go with the flow. But what he's really saying is, Tone down the parts of you that make me question myself. This is what happens when your identity isn't built on conformity. Some people will want to follow that freedom. Others will want to contain it. Just remember, if someone tries to dim your fire, it's because they're scared of what it lights up in them. You weren't made to be managed. You were made to be magnetic. Sign 16. You see through power games. You've been in rooms where people flash titles, money, or influence, trying to dominate with status. But you don't flinch, because you know real power has nothing to prove. That's why those games fall flat on you. That's why manipulative people find you difficult. You see through it. A 2022 report from Columbia University calls this autonomy-based perception. People with strong internal value systems are less susceptible to social coercion or manipulation. You don't chase validation. You don't perform for applause. You see the truth, and you answer to it. That's rare, and that's dangerous to the people who fake power. Sign 17. You make people feel seen, and that's more powerful than being liked. Some people chase charm. They want everyone to like them. You make people feel seen, and that's deeper than charm. That's impact. You notice the emotion behind the smile. You ask the question no one else asks. You hold space without forcing it. And in doing so, you offer something most have never felt: recognition without performance. But here's the twist. Being truly seen is terrifying for some, because it leaves nowhere to hide. So don't be surprised if some people pull away from you after opening up. Your presence gave them a mirror, but not everyone's ready to keep looking into it. Still, never stop being that mirror. It matters more than you know.